It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be doing a reaction discussion type video that was actually suggested by one of you guys in the Discord community. So if you want to go ahead and join the Discord community to be able to suggest videos for discussion like this one, then feel free to join it, accept the rules with the knife emoji, and just speak with the rest of us about any topics. Whether it be like, you know, books, movies, you know, DVD, whatever it is you want to talk about, it's definitely there. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is from CoconutsRTS, titled "I think something is seriously wrong with this community." So shout out to you guys for submitting videos like these, because it definitely creates a lot of interesting conversation. And let's get into it.
Have I seen so many vile comments, so many angry people, like, for just cross map sniping them, pairing the air.
God damn, that's gnarly.
Cool camping strat noob. That's pretty tame though. It's gotten pretty bad where people are like, oh, you should hang yourself. Hopefully you can do a nice backflip. Okay. Why are people in DBD so angry all the time? You know, you should sign your death certificate a little bit earlier, buddy. All for a video game. And
yeah. That is unfortunately the killer experience when you are playing this game. Now, I find it very funny because a lot of the time, when you do bring up a topic like this, you'll end up getting a lot of the oh, but killers are toxic too. You know, I was like WS the other day, and it's like, okay, that's perfectly valid, but how are we seeing bro had like 4 examples in like 30 seconds. I must have had like 10 plus from my own experience that I could just like pull out or something like that. I can literally pull anybody from the Discord community and be like, hey, you mind showing us some of your screenshots from the EGCs? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and 9 times out of 10, if they're playing killer, that's what you're seeing. So as much as we can acknowledge, like, yeah, of course, like the community as a whole is quite toxic as well. Like we can see it on killers too. It just so happens that it's extremely frequent to see that a lot of survivor players are reacting in this kind of way. And that's not to say that it's only survivor players, but it's just to say that there's a lot of survivor players that are engaging in this kind of behavior.
Of playing and covering this, like, it's evolved from like, oh, people just kind of disconnecting when they don't like it, and then they add the DC penalty, and then there's a little bit of anger, a little bit of back and forth. DB's always been known for its toxicity.
You dude, hope you get cancer and die and burn in hell.
We're literally getting even more examples, by the way.
But never in all my years have I witnessed such a lack of humanity, a lack of compassion or empathy for another side. It's almost like politics. The survivors, they hate the killers, and the killers hate the survivors. It's always been this ongoing war.
It's true. It is very true. It is indeed very true. It's very consistent, and I've discussed this sort of thing a lot of the time. As much as the detractors will say that there's some kind of bias going on within these sort of like discussions and things like that, at the end of the day, I'm going off of specifically what is being shown with data, statistics, and evidence. And unfortunately, we're like, that's just how it's leaning. If that's how it's being conveyed, we're going off of what we're seeing and getting the information from, right? So if it just so happens that the survivor side has a vast majority of people that are literally engaging in this kind of behavior, are engaging in these kinds of you know, languages and, like, you know, this kind of use of language and stuff like that, then of course you're gonna kind of lean more like, what the hell's wrong with those people? Like, you know, and of course that's how it works. Now, it's obviously a consistent thing, you know what I mean? Neither side likes what the other side does. That's just kind of a consistent thing that doesn't happen. That's just how it works, unfortunately, with an asymmetrical game. It's such a vastly different game for either side that, like, it's almost literally in a literal sense impossible to understand the other side until you actually experience the other side to be able to understand to an extent what it is that they're doing. Now, within that, of course, there's a little bit of nuance, because there's people that will barely dip a toe into the pool of the other side and go, oh, I already know everything I need to know. And it's like, nah, like you gotta get a little bit wet in the waters of the other side, at least get an understanding of what the hell's going on. Like, you know what I'm saying? And even then, come out on top and still be consistent with what you're trying to say, or at least have a better perspective with what you're trying to say. And I can speak from experience. Like, I've done that already. Like, I've done enough. I've done the research. I've been in the trenches. You know what I'm saying, with this game, and it's like, we've seen it. You know, we've seen it all.
The killers, the survivors complain. When something gets buffed, survivors, the killers complain. Back and forth, vice versa. But now it feels like it's gotten more visceral, more savage. There's no fear. There's just people going at each other with their ferocity. And personally, when I read stuff like this, it doesn't necessarily faze me, but it's shocking. The reactions of certain people. Like, here, speak of the.
I agree with Coconuts here, because it's kind of insane how frequent it is. It's kind of insane how like what do you call it? Confident they are to just let this stuff fly. You know what I mean? It's like, who are these people, man? There are people on streams that are literally saying this stuff out loud. Like, they're saying, like, you know, the KYS stuff, like, out loud on streams to people. Like, what are we, like, what? Like, huh? This shit is wild. And it's like, do you have no shame? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, who are these people? Like, why are they like this? It's so insane.
The devil. This community is just so negative in their vibes. All right, you see that? Look at that. You can make a conclusion that, well, maybe these people are having a rough day. Maybe life is really stressful, life is really hard, and it's hard to cope with their emotions. So what people like to do is they like to express.
Which I gotta say, like, I feel like I've seen that name before.
Maybe.
I feel like I've seen that name before. Damn. Why is that so familiar? That's so weird.
Life is really stressful,
so
life is
familiar?
really hard, and it's hard to cope with their emotions. So what people like to do is they like to express their frustration with life, express their pain through the medium of a video game. But that's when we need to draw the line. Using video games as a medium to express frustration, anger, stress is a healthy way to convert that energy into something that is less damaging. But when it comes to telling people to off themselves, for other people to hurt themselves, it starts to become increasingly more and more inhumane.
I will add this part to it, right? Because I agree with where Coconuts is at here. I think that one thing that we can sort of like put into the conversation here is the fact that there are other means to kind of express those things and kind of go through those motions in a more healthy way that doesn't involve having to tell people to do those things, by playing a single player game. You know what I mean? You know, let off some steam, stuff like that. There are plenty, and I keep saying this, there's plenty of games out there, man. There's so many games, a vast, you know, ocean of games you can play that are super fun and enjoyable, that can really help you out in your time of need and stuff like that. And they just refuse to do it. They refuse to look, they refuse to play it, they refuse to try out those things for whatever reason. I really don't know why. You know, they always say like the grass is always greener on the other side type stuff. And maybe in this sense it's literal, right? Because you can literally just stop playing a game that's making you frustrated and play something that you may love. Like, you can create some memories and look back and go, wow, I played this game. It's my favorite game ever. You know what I mean? Like, you could literally just do that. You can probably look back on it, and next thing you know, you have a new hobby, or you discover something new about yourself. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, you make new friends because you joined a community that also likes those things. Next thing you know what I mean? It's all connected. It really is all connected. They just refuse to acknowledge it. They refuse to venture, you know, out and take a chance. And honestly, life is all about chances, man. I mean, how else are you gonna know anything unless you take a chance, until you actually take the initiative to try. So, I mean, I don't know.
And when people complain about this game, I see them complaining about the game developers' behavior. Oh, don't know what they're doing. They're implementing these terrible palette changes, killer changes, perk changes, game modes. They don't know how to develop their game. But if I'm being honest with you, I think the majority of the problems don't necessarily lie more in the game developers per se than the community itself, the toxicity of this community. Back in the day, when people were frustrated at this game, when people were angry at the game developers, Mako would just say,
Another question, playing killers was fun a long time ago, but now it's only stressful. I used to love playing as a killer, win or lose it was fun, but currently no matter what, it's just filled with stress and anger. Killers aren't feared anymore. Do you have any plans or ideas how you would like to improve the killer experience? Well, I would say maybe try Survivor for a bit. No, but it's true. I mean, change it up. Maybe you're just tired, you know, or play something else for a week. Try Civilization or something.
Now, as much as some people get really frustrated at Matthew Cote for saying this is something that I've been saying for months now. Now, I understand it, like, it sort of feels like you're being told, like, we don't care about your experience as a killer player in this instance. In this instance, keyword, this instance. However, this was like 2021. So, like, we kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, like, in that sense. However, the message, like, the messenger should not really be the point of, like, the pain point. The real thing that you should be listening to is the message. He's saying, like, maybe you're just kind of getting a little overworked or a little bit, you know, maybe you're just getting a little exhausted playing the same thing over and over. You know, try something else. Like, he's like, hey, you can play a different game, you can try Survivor, like, there's just other stuff you could try, and maybe you like that too, and then you have, like, another thing you can engage in. Is his point, you know what I mean? And he says, like, literally, he says, for a refreshing change. So, like, that's what he's trying to say. In that sense. And, you know, I'm very quick to shit on behaviors stuff and what they do, but I gotta give it to Matthew on this, because this is exactly what I've been saying. Try a different fucking game. Like, there's, like, I keep saying, there's so many amazing games out there, so many, like, of different varieties. Like, there's indie games, AAA, AA, whatever, like, of any variety, like, anything you could probably think of, that game probably exists. Fine, like Final Fantasy, right? JRPG, right? Freaking platformers. If you're into, like, that, there's so many variations of platformers. Like, you got, so, oh my god. I mean, like, it just goes on and on and on. Like, farming games, freaking, like, little task games, cooking games. You freaking name it, dude. I'm like, I don't understand why not try other stuff too. Like, it's not even. We're not even, like, saying, like, oh, just don't play the game, like, you know, I have said that before, I will admit, but but what they're saying is like, we don't have to, he's not saying uninstall, like, he's not saying, like, you don't matter in the sentence, at least in this sort of response, but it's like, yo, maybe you're just a little stressed out, try, you know, maybe try a different experience, you know what I mean? Like, if you're, say, what, like, you know, doing the same thing over and over, maybe switch it up, you know?
For a refreshing change.
oh, maybe you should just play a different game. Play some Civ 5. Relax. If killer's stressful, play a little bit Survivor. That's a good way to vent out your anger, and to calm down. But now the attitude of behavior has changed ever so slightly.
So the first question people might ask is, why are we doing these things? Why are we looking at these strategies that people employ to play the game? It's quite simple. Face camping, tunneling, and slugging were in the top 5 reasons for people uninstalling the game. And, you know, we as developers and
let me also make sure I add on the fact that they said top 3 reasons, but yet all they ever asked were Survivor-related questions in 3 separate surveys. So,
myself as a player, we want the game to last long. So to make sure that that happens and that the game can keep going as long as it can, we have to address the issues that people have, or the players have, with...
So another thing I want to add on to what he said as well there, that I may have forgotten to even mention in the past, was the fact that he wants these games to be longer. It's like, okay, so make the gens longer. Why not make the gens take longer to do? Why not give other tasks? Why not address the main reason why the strategy gets used? Oh, no, we're just gonna increase pallets. I'm like, oh, no, we're just gonna nerf killer. I'm like, okay, but that's not fixing the core problem. It's like they just hear the complaints of the Survivor players, but they never address what the issue of the thing is. Like, they never go deeper. The core problem is within the objective itself. Like, I don't understand, bro.
Within the game. So face camping, slugging, and tunneling are 3 of the issues that we have to address.
They're more worried about player retention, player happiness, which on paper sounds like a good thing, but that has resulted in a couple PTBs where they want to be nuclear with tunneling, camping, and slugging. And a lot of people can most certainly agree that a lot of these changes that were suggested were not quite as healthy when first initially revealed. It actually feels like that behavior might be increasingly trying to people please, make a lot of angry people happy. And it almost feels like that behavior's scared of their community. So when I hear a lot of community members complaining about how bad behavior is with their design decisions, how tone deaf or blind they are, I almost wonder if the root of those specific problems are not necessarily 100% the game developers themselves, but in the mere fact of them being scared of the community. Feel like they want to make their community happy, but
I've never heard of that before. In that way. Like, I've heard it from like a forum post that was like just like ridiculously biased brain rot, but to hear it from Coconuts, I go CoconutRTS, I go, he's making an interesting point in the sense that he's looking at it from an outside perspective, comparing from what it was before, which was what we could assume that the perspective was, which was like, hey, it's okay to play other games, like you can do that, versus now it's like people pleasing, player retention, all this type of stuff. Now, to add on, like, scared of the community is a little bit interesting. I don't know if that's the words I would use for that. I think it's more monetary sort of focused, in the sense, like, because they're losing players, that means you're losing money. If you're losing money, you got to find a way to, you know, pull it back and fix what the issue is so you can maintain that. And considering the community is the way it is, it's cannibalistic to say the least, with like how it does its thing, as you can see here, from these responses from Survivor players that are saying these kinds of things. The fact of the matter is that they are going around and essentially making other people not want to play the game, right? And then they also will go into forums and other public spots and also make people not want to play the game, because they're getting this kind of response, or they're getting people that aren't going to play killer because they don't want to get this response, stuff like that. So at the end of the day, it's like it's an interesting point, but it definitely touches on something that I've discussed in the past previously.
the community is so gosh darn toxic, so gosh darn terrifying, so gosh darn unforgiving.
Unforgiving is definitely true. I like how you put the Steam review. Overwhelmingly negative is crazy. But it says out of all reviews, it says mostly positive though. But anyway, I want to quickly go ahead and end it here so you guys can watch the original video. It'll be linked in the description, of course. You can let me know your thoughts. And obviously check out CoconutRTS as well to support the video and his channel. To, you know, listen to the rest of the video and to the topics. If you want to support the channel, become a member. And on YouTube, Patreon, and even sub on Twitch. Have your name right off the end of every video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Alright, let's go ahead and read off our members from Patreon. Pro King 101, YouTube members, Cargan Falcon, Evil Blade, Cap Courteous, WTF You're Not J-Lo, Evil Peach, Cozy Bozy, Theo Endire, Dole Whip, Noxus, Zero Mocker, Jack, Christian, and Crow Vader. And for the Twitch, we have Final Girl Bunny, Leona Art, Zazabu, Evil Blade, Danica, Pro Vader, Cake is a Road, Zeneron, Ginsburg, Mr. Morik, Kevin, Zero Mocker, Ashai Boo, and Gryffindor. Appreciate you guys supporting. Really means a lot. If you want to become a member, you can go ahead and join through Patreon or YouTube members, or even sub on Twitch. See you guys in the next one.